Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the Geekly Roundup here on the Ace of Geeks. Today we've got me and Lauren and Ben.
Hello.
I'm a Ben.
Aren't you the Ben?
It depends on where I am. At work I'm the only Ben, and on the blog I'm one of two Bens. So,
Alright, we'll call you the Ben though because you're the only one on right now.
hey, I'll take that. Man, you really know how to make a guy feel good about himself.
I know. I'm good like that. And Lauren, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
You got some hard science to drops on us?
Science!
You want to just jump into that
Exclamation
right
point.
now? Just hard science it up?
Alright, let's just jump right into that. So, there's a new theory running around as to what would happen if you fell into a black hole. And it sort of messes with physics a bit, and as black holes are wont to do in the first place. And the theory is that if you fell into a black hole, you would simultaneously be burnt to ashes, and nothing would happen to you.
You just pass straight through it.
You'd just be like, yeah, you just be chilling in there and floating further towards the goodness, what's it called? Event horizon? Not event horizon. The point.
The singularity.
Singularity. There we go. That's the word.
I know some stuff.
Dependent, but it is largely dependent on the size of the black hole. The smaller the black hole, the more strong the spaghetti effect. The bigger the black hole, the less strong the spaghetti effect, which kind of blew my mind at first because it makes more sense for the bigger black hole to pull you and just pull you stronger because of its mass. But apparently, the larger the black hole, the spaghetti effect is closer to becoming null and void because the strength of the singularity's gravity is lesser by a little bit in the way of how it would affect you in the spaghetti effect.
The whole thing with black holes is that we can't even begin to understand them. Honestly, what would happen to you mentally in your head. There's all the math, and I trust that scientists are doing that math, and if I had known we were talking about this, I could have seen if I could have brought my astrophysicist friend on to explain this to us. But yeah, black holes. Just, hey, gravity's so big that everything's collapsing in on itself. Oh. And then what?
So apparently, the big thing behind it is if you tried to prove that you existed both as the ashes and as just your normal self floating through space, one of two things would happen. The evidence would either show that you just were the ashes or that you were, in fact, there and alive. And if you proved that you were there and alive, reality would sort of wobble, maybe collapse, something like that. And there's also how the outsider perspective would see it. The person seeing you go into the black hole would see it, and they would just see you go into be burnt to ashes.
Right.
They wouldn't possibly be able to see you existing still.
Because there's no, other side for them to see you on.
Yeah.
You've just disappeared into this thing and poof.
Yep.
Sheesh.
I didn't even...
Yeah. It's really interesting, too, because this whole thing is the conclusions are drawn because of the laws of physics. So the idea is you're saying that since information can't be destroyed, you have to stay outside of the black hole. So you die and you turn to ash when you touch it. But because of the way that we perceive time and deal with time in relation to gravity, you can, in fact, live out your entire life before you actually hit the singularity. And then because both of those things say that you can't exist in two places at the same time, then that's also impossible. So it's here's the law of physics. Here's a black hole. Here's a black hole giving a large middle finger to the laws of physics. Proceed.
Yeah. Laws of physics, just, where black holes are where laws of physics go to die.
Go to die.
And get crushed. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm reading this article right now and just trying to. My biggest problem is trying to picture it, because how the hell are you supposed to picture that?
Yeah, it's and you can't. It's kind of that's sort of the idea. Is
you
that's
literally
why
can't.
that's why there's so many different, like, let's take this and let's try and figure out what in the world this means, and so you end up with lots of, like, the article actually features a whole bunch of artists' renderings of black holes, because you can't actually black hole. So we invent how we think you black hole.
Well, and it makes sense, though, that you can't actually visualize what it looks like, because everything that we visualize is literally tied to light.
Right,
which
to light and to
goes
space
into a black
and
hole and gets sucked into it, and just gets completely compacted along with everything else. So,
yeah, it's interesting because of the whole idea that like the black hole is this combination of everything with nothingness. If you want to get super philosophical, I guess, because that's why they're saying the whole thing about information is that information supposedly can't be destroyed. Energy can't be destroyed. Matter can't be destroyed. And so when it goes into a black hole, something has to happen. And so we go with supercompaction of gravity. And at the same time, like, when it hits the singularity or the event horizon, well, then what? And we're like, we don't know. It's a great question.
yeah.
And so, all of our laws of physics, as we have them now, they start with what we can perceive, and then black holes, I guess.
And then they end at black holes, where we go,
As a confession, I didn't actually take physics in high school, so
That's fair. I did, and I don't think being able to calculate the friction and the angle of an object or the gravity working on an object on an angled plane that is assumed to be frictionless really is going to help us very much here.
Not at all.
Let me just break out my old textbook and look up the section on black holes and.
Yeah. Actually, if you turn
I
to
love
the
how this
page,
came about, though.
it's just black. Oh.
I love how this whole this theory came about. They did a thought experiment, and I've always been hilarious. Like, I've always found the idea of thought experiments hilarious, because it literally you're just sitting there thinking really hard about
It's a guy in
something.
a chair or a lady in a chair just going,
But like,
but
for
deeply.
sometimes the things that come out of thought experiments, I wonder how high they were.
That seems like you literally you ask a question and then you just pay people to try and come up with answers.
Pretty much.
Because then maybe they'll try harder than when you ask them for free.
I
Which
definitely
in
need
fairness,
to
I
get
would.
my astrophysicist friend on the show, just to ask him, just how true is this? They're just paying you because they're like, I don't know, can you figure it out? And you go, I'll give it a shot, and I have a doctorate.
Like, seriously, can you tell us about what is a thought experiment?
Let's see here.
It sounds faintly Orwellian, except that experimenting is probably not the best word to use.
Well, I mean, it would not be welcome in 1984, but
Exactly. But it would, in fact, the thought experiment would probably be shut down by the thought police. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I'll just stop.
it's okay.
I'll just stop.
This article.
black holes,
I'm
man.
just reading this article. Sorry, I'm like reading this and being
Yeah.
like, I don't. Why am I so?
If you're
dumb?
listening to this podcast and you've gotten this far and you still haven't read the article yet, we strongly recommend you pause it, go and read the article, and whether or not you totally get it, come back and it'll make a lot more sense in general.
Although we might not make that much more sense because
No.
clearly we're just struggling here.
I mean, I usually don't anyway, but now I also haven't had coffee, so it's like
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just here to set our audience up for failure. Hi guys.
Oh, somebody's honking horns in. That was
No.
well timed. Should we try to escape the black hole
Let's segue out of this black hole.
and its body stretching ridiculous, much like our friend Mr.
This segment?
Fantastic?
Ooh,
Maybe? I don't know.
that was
It was a stretch.
Yeah.
Oh, we're back into the podcast of puns. The puncast
So mad.
has begun.
No, I'm not. It's fine.
You're just mad that I took it from you.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, so
That's true.
my two topics are actually basically just about the Fantastic Four movie, because this is timely as though torn from today's headlines of it being out this weekend.
Maybe literally.
So the first one is the fact that apparently the director of Fantastic Four made a tweet that basically said,
Quickly removed.
Huh?
Which was quickly removed.
Yes, which was quickly removed, which basically said, a year ago, I had a cut of this movie that was actually good.
Oh.
Well,
Basically blaming the studio for... Because I don't know if everyone knows this, but apparently they finished shooting Fantastic Four. They did some of the, studio-run screenings and that sort of thing. And then they went back for reshoots for like a couple of months because I guess people didn't like it or whatever. And from the couple of people who I've seen talk about the movie, who've seen it so far, he may actually be telling the truth that there was a good movie here at one point, because I know one or two people who've basically said that the first 2/3 of the movie are a pretty good science fiction film, and then the last third basically just collapses into a bullshit comic book action thing that makes no sense.
Oh.
huh.
Which does kind of sound like, a studio going, well, we liked the movie, but there was no fighting at the end, or, something. We're afraid it's going to be like the Hulk
movie without superheroes trying to punch something.
Yeah. So who knows if that's true. The fact that he took it down rather quickly kind of suggests that maybe somebody was like, hey, you might want to take that down. Just
You maybe shouldn't have said that.
you shouldn't burn all your bridges.
No.
They're writing your paychecks, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they still are or not, but fair enough.
Well, this movie's probably not going to write his paychecks from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
related point, I actually saw that as of yesterday, it might not be true now, that on Rotten Tomatoes, this film was actually trending lower than Batman and Robin.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Anyway,
Just ouch.
the second story about the Fantastic Four movie is, I guess, also depressing in some ways, but in a way also more heartwarming. There was an interview that the cast was involved in, where they went in, and I think it was, hold on, let me check here. I think it was a radio. This probably sounds like a bad idea anyway. They did a radio station interview, or with a crew from a radio station. In, where are they? Who cares? It's a radio station. Everybody knows what the hell they're like. It's true though, isn't it? Like, rock radio DJs. Those guys. Anyway, so these DJs from Atlanta, they did an interview with them, and basically started off the thing by asking the obvious question: How come? Why
is one of you black?
Yeah, how come Johnny Storm's black and you're white, and you guys are brother and sister? Am I missing something?
I'm sorry. Yes, in fact, you were.
And what's his name? Michael B. Jordan, who plays the Human Torch, was like, no. and, and undeterred, the guy's like, no, but you're white and you're black. How does that happen? And so he was like, they could be raised as brother and sisters. There's a whole bunch of family dynamics that there could be without the obvious adoption. And so, undeterred from that, they kind of like they left that question alone, and then they started asking Kate Mara, "Hey, your hair's really short now. Why'd you cut your hair? It was so beautiful." And
that's a really just not a that. Wow.
Yeah.
These people don't know how to do interviews, do they?
They really don't.
Like,
apparently. I mean, you know what it is when you go into a radio show, the interviews are not, especially if it's not like a news radio show, the interviews are not very hard hitting because sometimes the hosts are there for their personalities and not for their journalistic integrity.
Yeah, like I don't suspect that these people did any kind of actual prep work for this interview
or research.
soul searching, learning how to be a decent human being.
Are you a human being?
Yeah.
Not convinced. Are you sure?
So anyway, the best part about this is actually coming up. They ask her, "Why'd you cut your hair?" And she's like, "This is a great interview." And the guy's like, "No, but what would you cut your hair for?" She's like, "They asked me to. Like, I did a movie role, so I'm cutting my hair. I have to do. Like, I'm an actress. It's part of my job." And
Right.
And so, in order to help diffuse the awkwardness of this situation, the co-host jumps in, is like, "Is it weirding out that he's doing that? Like, and it's kind of creeping me out that he's asking you all these questions." And she's like, "What's creeping you out?" He's like, "The hair thing, whatever. I'm a toe guy. Your toes are fine."
What?
Wait.
What?
Yes.
Wait, what?
At which point, all the actors got up and left.
Yay!
Oh, right.
Which is the heartwarming part, was just like, "You guys are idiots.
We out.
Bye."
Yeah, really.
So...
I guess I say that. I have no idea how intelligent we would sound if we attempted to actually interview somebody with any sort of celebrity standing. But if you listen to our main podcast, you can hear Mike and Jairus do that on a regular basis, and somehow they haven't totally tripped over their own tongues yet. So maybe we'd be okay.
I know. They didn't ask Patrick Rothfuss, like, "What do you use on your beard? Can I touch it?"
I'm really more of a toe guy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's going to be my new entry into conversations. Hey guys, how we doing here? Any other toe guys in the house?
No?
Wink.
No one? Just me?
No. No?
This little piggy?
Where'd everybody go?
No? Alright, I'm gonna go wee.
You guys are having such a great conversation. You had a great conversation before I got here. What happened?
Yeah.
Oh.
I would hope that, if we ever got a chance to talk to anybody of fairly celebrity standing, that I would maybe ask them about the project they're working on, or,
Nah,
what
clearly
they're
that's too
doing
difficult for some
next.
people. It's obviously really hard for some people to ask questions about an actual movie to people who are in a movie. I mean, that's like, it's kind of a stretch.
Maybe
isn't
the
it?
hosts didn't want to waste their time and see the movie.
Maybe.
That's the only defense I can think of.
The movie is such a good excuse to get Kate Mara on the show.
And ask her
So
about
we
her
can
toes.
ask her about her toes. Clearly toes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got nothing.
No,
Like,
I
just-
don't think
got
there's.
nothing.
I don't think we need to try and contextualize this. These guys just have their heads up their own asses.
We'll run with that. I'm with it.
Yeah, which can happen.
Speaking of people with their heads up their own asses,
Are we gonna talk about Donald Trump?
that's it'd be so
Damn.
easy.
Sorry,
We're
I
just
didn't
gonna
mean to-
okay.
I took the shot.
Oh man, just
took the
low hanging fruit. Come on.
Speaking of Donald
So-
Trump,
No, not quite.
low hanging
Speak-
fruit. No, I don't know what that means.
Speaking of people that have made money in slightly unethical ways.
well done.
So we're going to go ahead and quickly cut over to Valve and Steam, who took an interesting step in relation to a game called Journey of the Light. Journey of the Light was billed as one of the hardest games on Steam, but it's somewhere between difficult, which
People
there's
can like.
that people like hard and like difficult.
Yeah.
People are definitely into let's try and get together and try and figure out this overly difficult puzzle, and let's see if we can figure out like what's going on with this, and what ended up happening is that let's see, it was a game design that was more or less incomprehensible, but it could have become fun. Like, it could have been one of those games where, kind of like the Trials Fusion puzzles and so on, where people get together and, through dedication and communication, end up making something really happen. So, after they'd been pushing at this for so long, somebody went through and actually went spelunking in the game's code and found out that, like, the other 6 levels were missing. So you couldn't actually move on. Mm-hmm. And that the first level is apparently unsolvable. So if anybody has beat it, they've stayed really quiet about it. But yeah,
It's
apparently
weird. I don't know what kind of game it is, because I'm looking at the picture, and it's really impossible by looking at the picture to tell what the hell kind of game it is.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's apparently supposed to be a puzzle game, but it involves like a labyrinth that you're wandering around, which wasn't necessarily supposed to be a labyrinth per se.
Yeah.
But
and there's puzzles with switches, which everyone loves, lanterns and switches and lights
of course.
go
And
on
I mean, in
and
fairness,
off.
the art style is kind of neat.
Yeah, it looks nice. Maybe there is actually a game underneath there, but it does seem weird that people haven't been able to solve the puzzle for the first level and then dug through the code, and it seems like there isn't any other levels.
Yeah.
That seems like a fair thing to ask questions about. And and apparently the creator said that there was a recent update that turned the game this way. I guess he thinks he fucked up or something, and there was other levels, and they're gone now. I don't know.
He thinks that an update, which is what you say, like a recent update gone awry, which isn't really what you say when you're taking culpability, I imagine. But this is paraphrased through the article that we're reading.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people have pressed him for proof that there are other levels. Like, hey, can you
just show us a picture of another level?
Like, I realize you want us to discover our way there, but get some hype going again. Show us a picture. Show us something. Nothing. People have been pressing for proof. Nothing.
Yeah. I wonder how long ago this was, though. This is, let's see. I'm looking at the announcements page here. They had some Steam achievements and bug fixes they announced in June. July 29th, he made an announcement. Game has only one level? Question. Hello all, I just heard that someone tampered with the game files and know there's only one level. That's not how it's supposed to be. It seems I did something wrong when I released bug fix number 1. I did tested the game after the bug fix, but only checked that the bugs are gone. He's going to roll it back, make sure it won't happen. And then a week later... This announcement is meant to clarify the case of the missing levels. It seems that it doesn't matter what I say, here is still my announcement. Aw, poor guy, it doesn't matter what he says.
Oh, man.
Aww. He's now rolled back the game and will be testing the levels. I'm not going to defend myself since that will not help.
That is true.
I made an mistake with builds and am truly sorry about that. Nothing more I can do about this. I tried to be friendly and kind for you all. I do understand that you feel betrayed and you are angry. I have tried to fix it, but all the damage has already been done. I am not a scammer. All I wanted is to create a new kind of gaming experience for all of you.
Right, and then recently he also tweeted out that he was too sick to do anything, while still engaging with people on Twitter. So, it's in fairness, maybe it's all true. Just let that sit there. Maybe somehow he put all this work into multiple levels and managed to get them all wiped out with a single update by making a really, 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 really surprising mistake, and then got really sick because of all the stress of having to defend himself against the internet. Maybe.
It's possible.
I won't rule it out.
It's a little,
I'll call it unlikely.
Yeah.
But I won't rule it out. Now, the upside is, though, Steam has actually started, because of the entire brouhaha, Steam has begun issuing refunds for Journey of the Light, and they are unconditional, which is a really nice step by Valve to say, look, we're not entirely sure what the hell happened here, but there is something wrong with this game, so we're going to go ahead and give you your money back. Kind of like the Arkham Knight, the awkward Arkham Knight debacle that happened a little while back.
Right.
Valve has sort of stepped in and said there is a problem, and because the developer... because in Arkham Knight's case, I think the developer actually stepped in and said, all right, we're just going to stop selling this through here.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it there. In this case, Valve has actually said, nope, we're taking over. You get your money back. This is ridiculous. We're pulling this game off of Steam.
Which is good. That
does not happen often. It's
I don't think...
not exactly unprecedented, but it's for sure rare.
Yeah, I can't think of another case where it's happened. But I'm looking at... So the Steam... community page for this is now quite funny. So if you click and look at artwork for the game, somebody has posted a picture. It says Chapter 2, and it's a picture of a death claw from Fallout and one of the Fallout dungeons with some of the graphics from this game overlaid on it. Chapter 3 is a picture of another puzzle game with some stuff overlaid on it. And Chapter 4 is, I think, a picture from Goat Simulator. I'm not sure. So, people are
the content provided for the game that somebody actually have the page up on. It's an Imager post, but somebody actually went in, looked through it all, wanted to take a look at how all this works. Even the guy who created the game is on the leaderboard for the game and is the only person who is listed as completing chapters 1, 2, and 3. No one else has done it.
Right.
But beyond that, when you start looking at some of the actual items inside the game's code, which is really not all that hard to get into because it's in the installation folder, the pictures, the images, there's a splash screen for level 0, and then there's one called level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Level 5 through level 11 all look exactly the same, and they all look like something that says Chapter 1.
Right.
That's either you're really bad at putting the files out for your game, in which case, if it's all gone, you should also probably just give up on this, or you're padding. And padding is that's not how you game develop, strangely. Well, I guess there are arguments that you can make a game by padding it with a bunch of unnecessary stuff, but not by repeating the same level over and over again. That won't really get you anywhere.
People might actually, they might actually notice that. That's so weird.
And then there's a little tweet at the end from the developer that says, "My sales after refunding took its place." I'm like, yeah, because your game was terrible. It's not even a real... No. So he's trying to imply that
it's hurting indie devs. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's hurting you.
Yeah.
Not to say that it can't hurt indie devs.
I think probably what's hurting your game is the fact that apparently it's broken and isn't done.
Yep.
Good lord. I don't even know how you get into a situation like that.
Really, yeah.
On the one hand, I feel like it's probably some sort of mistake, because I don't know how you could think that people would be so dumb as to not realize that the first game, that the game isn't actually anything other than the first level. But at the same time, I don't know how you could be so dumb as to wipe out everything after. Did he release it and figure, by the time they figure out that this is broken, I'll have programmed the second level? Yeah, right. And then they'll be on that one, and okay.
And by the time everybody finally beats it, they'll go, "That's weird. I never could get that lantern to switch on before, but now it works fine."
Right, exactly.
I'm not actually doing anything different, so I don't feel like I've figured out what the key is.
I don't know.
It seems like one of the, based on what you're seeing and everybody posting up the tweets that he's been saying and everything else, it kind of seems like not the person that thinks far ahead enough to succeed at making this whole thing work anyway.
No.
But this now I'm engaging in character assassination. So I'm just gonna stop.
I have no idea what's going on. All I know is that's
it sure doesn't look good.
It's mind-boggling.
And I'm glad that Valve is issuing refunds. I think I'll leave it at that. I'm really glad Valve's issuing refunds for this game, because otherwise,
good job,
Valve. Doing. Right.
Agreed.
Speaking of things that used to be games.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of how are we going to do this, but okay, sure. We're going to talk about X-Men now?
I like that all of our segues have turned into one of us just saying, "Speaking of," and then just trying to make a vaguely related statement.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that used to be games.
What do you mean our segues have turned into that? Have they ever been better than that?
Nope.
Nope.
Not really, no.
She's right. She does not lie.
Indeed. All right.
So, things that are still game.
Sure.
But
True.
Though there has been one game for this where I started playing it and I was just like, I want my money back. This is not a good game.
I do want to hear about that later, but
so they're going to make a Dungeons and Dragons movie
again.
They've got 5 producers on this thing, and I'm not too fond of the idea of having too many producers. But if it makes it better, then go for it. But I'm afraid they're going to take this thing too seriously. You can't take Dungeons and Dragons too seriously, otherwise you lose the heart of the game.
Is that the opposite of what they did with the original Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Yeah.
It does seem like that's the case. So who are the producers on this? Does it say here?
It does. Give me a second. It's got a couple people from... It's got one guy who produced Lego Movie and How to Train Your Dragon.
That's good.
A couple people from Hasbro. A couple people from Sweet Pea Entertainment. And that's it.
What is Sweet Pea Entertainment? Does anyone know that?
I remember hearing about something they did a while ago, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'll just use our good friend Google.
So let's just look here though. The Hasbro guys, I guess, are there because that's who currently owns the Dungeons and Dragons license, I would suppose, and they want to make sure that they don't turn the entire thing into something not reflective of the character of their IP, I would guess.
Maybe.
I'm just really worried that they're going to take this too seriously.
From what I'm seeing here, Sweet Pea Entertainment actually worked on, and this is according to IMDb, which can be modified in funny ways, but they worked on the original 2 Dungeons and Dragons movies, supposedly.
Oh no.
So maybe they still own...
But in fairness, those movies
movie
didn't
rights.
take themselves too seriously, only in the sense that they featured Justin Whalen and Marlon Wayans, at least the first one.
Jeremy Irons,
So,
right? Jeremy Irons?
Yeah, well, yes, that's a fair point.
So, yeah. So now the concern is actually flipped on its head, and I'm worried they won't take it seriously enough.
Well, the writer they had do it. The writer, he worked on The Conjuring and Wrath of Titans. And that's where my worry of too serious comes in.
It's a fair point.
Yeah. I can see where you guys would be worried about the opposite, but if the writer is somebody who worked on pretty much exclusively serious films...
Then again, is not Wrath of the Titans Release the Kraken? The Liam Neeson Release the Kraken movie?
I think so.
So I'm all over the place with this thing. I have no idea
does that
what's
count
going
as,
on.
as unintentionally funny?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know.
Remember, David Leslie Johnson began writing plays in the second grade, so lots of experience here. Yeah, I don't know. The thing of it is, like, I think that, Lauren, I think you're right to be worried about it being too serious because, anybody who plays Dungeons and Dragons knows you're going to have your epic moments and you need your epic moments, but there's also those moments where you just kind of have to appreciate the humor in the game because there are certain things that because of the way it's written can become so ridiculous as to just be unintentionally hilarious that you kind of have to take that human side of it too. But the problem for us, I think, is once burned, twice shy. It's the Dungeons and Dragons movie was so incredibly poorly received, and they even made a sequel, which I think was direct to video because that's what happens when your first movie's not that good. And now they're sort of like the problem is because some of the same groups are involved, and they ended up having to get in like a legal fight for the rights and everything else. And the rights for it have been returned to Wizards of the Coast for making future movies, but they're also contractually obligated to keep Sweet Pea on board when they make further movies. And
right.
Yeah.
So that could be good though, right? Because I mean, if you think about it,
you said rather have Wizards involved,
right?
That they're the ones
they
that
probably
already
understand
arbitrate
it.
Yeah, I mean it's their IP now, and they've got to be the ones that handle it the best in theory.
So
in theory,
the best case scenario in my head is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They made the movie, and then they went to do the TV series, and they still had to keep as executive producer credits the people who produced the movie, even though they did nothing for the entirety of the show. Yeah, what are they called? Franz Zubelkai. What are they named? Anyway, the Fran Rubel Kazooie and What the hell?
Maybe I shouldn't make you try to pronounce these.
I can't pronounce. I don't know. I don't know who. I don't know how to pronounce these names. This person has the first two names sound German and the last name is Japanese. Anyway, this lady and I believe her husband were executive producers on Angel and Buffy because they helped produce the film, but they had basically nothing to do with
Like
the TV show.
they had money and they were
Oh, sure. I see.
literally involved with their money.
Kaz Kazooie was her husband, so there you go. That's why she had that last name. Anyway, so her and her husband were billed as producers for the entirety of the TV show run and Angel, even though they basically didn't really do anything hands-on on them. It was all run by Joss Whedon and co. So that's your best case scenario, is those guys, the
producers don't have a major impact on how the thing actually works out. It's
Right.
all based on the creative staff. And
they may
that's
just
the dream.
take a credit and probably money, and then the Hasbro and the people who worked on the Lego Movie and How to Train Your Dragon will just do the writing and everything.
You know, I'll run with that. If that's the case, I feel like we can end up with a pretty decent movie.
It could be decent. I don't know. I think for me the issue I have isn't even all this stuff behind the scenes, just that I don't really get Dungeons and Dragons as a narrative IP. If they had taken
itself.
Forgotten Realms or
Like
Ravenloft or any of their story settings, that I would get. Make a movie out of
Although,
those.
in fairness, you name something Forgotten Realms and nobody knows what you're talking about, compared to you say Dungeons and Dragons and people know what you're talking about.
Sure, you could call it, D&D, The Forgotten Realms, or whatever.
True.
Call the movie, I don't know, The Adventures of friggin'. I'm trying to remember. I don't have enough. My geek cred just evaporated because I couldn't remember any wizards or whatever from The Forgotten Realms. That's sad.
Elminster.
Hey,
It's
there's
Elminster.
one. Elminster. Right. So, you could do that, but...
I feel this is on this podcast is the one place I feel like not at all upset about proclaiming that I know who some of the wizards in the Forgotten Realms are.
I was actually thinking Elminster. I was thinking of the other one. I've forgotten his name. I'm the worst. Anyway, I don't know. Because realistically speaking, to me, when you say we're making a Dungeons and Dragons movie, I kind of feel like I feel like Peter Jackson did that.
There are people that have made D&D movies better than D&D related IPs. It's true, movies in the theme of D&D, and I feel like there's a pretty good number of them. But I'm just curious to see how they're going to approach it now with D&D 5th Ed out now, and the fact that Wizards is involved, affecting the fact that, well, I don't know how involved they are, but theoretically the fact that Wizards is involved, and that they have sort of a slightly different take on D&D now with the newer editions. I mean, it's been 20 years since the last movie? When was Justin Whalen relevant?
I don't think he actually was.
I don't know. I watched Sequest.
Oh.
That's all I got. Literally, yeah.
Well, then there was the movie Gamers, and that was pretty good.
Right. Oh, and Lois and Clark when Justin Whalen played Perry Olsen.
Really? I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's Lois and Clark was on for 5 years. That was
Yeah, it had a decent run.
It's one of my favorite things on TV for a while. But yeah, Justin Whalen played Jimmy Olsen.
All right, that's fair. Okay.
Okay,
so,
no, Justin
let's
Whalen
see,
was totally
Whalen.
not actually on Sequest. I'm thinking of oh god, what's his name?
Oh, the blonde
else.
kid
that played Lucas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Totally. Jonathan Brandis, I think.
Isn't he dead? I feel like he's dead.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. This podcast has taken a remarkably weird turn. Yeah, he died. Oh, he
2003.
did. Wow.
Well, that got really dark in a hurry. All right.
Oh shit. Sorry, Jonathan Brandis. Rest in peace, brother.
I don't know what to.
Speaking of dark things in a hurry.
Hey.
Black holes. What?
Nah.
No. What, please continue your...
Continue your segue.
You're not at
We've
all
started
forced
it. We can't
segue.
stop now.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of dark plots in X-Men.
Oh God, you segued to
All
me.
right, I'll take that.
I wasn't ready for that. You tricked me. Oh no.
Aha, Fu, you've taken the bait.
Basically, the story here
By which I mean we
that,
clearly needed to get out of that last line, so
we
segue time it
flailed
was.
enough that we somehow managed to work our way into an X-Men story. The bad news here is that the entirety of the story is that they are quote-unquote actively pursuing a TV series based on the X-Men. So Fox is negotiating with Marvel to make a TV show. Why they aren't just negotiating with Marvel to start making movies that are good, I don't know, or better, but...
Because exclusive rights in an era where superheroes are a big deal mean getting money from superheroes being a big deal, and... Yeah, there's a vested interest in keeping the rights, and so that you get to keep the money that comes from the movies, I suppose.
Sure. But,
Yes.
given that Marvel apparently is until... Well, I don't know if Ant-Man's doing the same, but for the last little while, didn't seem like they could make a movie that would make less than $1 billion. It seems like there would have been money to go around. But I'm thinking small. That's tiny thinking. That's why I'm not a studio exec playing for the big bucks. Anyway, so they're they want to make... Fox wants to make a TV series. The question here is whether or not Marvel wants to make a TV series about the X-Men with Fox, given that Marvel seems pretty intent on kind of, how can I put this? Ignoring and letting the studios have enough rope so that they can hang themselves on things like Spider-Man and X-Men and, Fantastic Four.
Just like, clearly you're not going to make as decent of a movie as we've been making lately, so just, you do whatever.
Yeah, do whatever you do, and then when you've realized that you've screwed it up, we'll be here. Like, that's what happened with Spider-Man. That's why he's apparently going to show up in Avengers now.
Oh.
What was that?
I see what you did there. Also accurate. Because they did. They were not great. Although the Amazing Spider-Man movies weren't terrible.
The first one...
Okay, fair enough.
Was good. The second one was kind of a mess. And it was the second one that basically put the nail in the coffin and made Sony just go, hey, so Marvel, remember we were talking before? What about if we give you Spider-Man back and we share the money?
Do you want Spider-Man back, Marvel? We're so sorry.
I dropped it and it's broken now. Could you fix it?
Perfect.
So yeah, I don't know. Fox is hoping that Marvel will make a TV show with them, but I don't really know what's in it for Marvel.
Yeah, that or else I think, well, Fox is their negotiations with Marvel. The thing is that it's because the rights are split right now. If you try to do an X-Men TV show and you're Fox, then you have to do Fox's X-Men movie universe. And as we all know by now, because of the way movie rights work, that cuts out like anybody that's not related to the X-Men.
Yep.
And I mean, there are borderline characters, like that's why we have 2 Quicksilvers right now.
Yep.
But
Scarlet Witches.
Double Scarlet Witches. But it's, yeah, there's, all of a sudden you're like, okay, so these major things that have gotten involved over time, like the X-Men, say, being hated by the world and having other superheroes who aren't mutants come in and get involved, can't do that. That's out. Yeah, no, Cap's busy. So, well,
yeah,
we can go back to Magneto again. Anybody want to put in the Juggernaut?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
how about some Morlocks?
Magneto's doing a thing, and now Apocalypse has showed up, and there's this giant world-changing event. Where are the Avengers right now? Oh, yeah, no, they were busy.
I don't know.
They had something bigger on their
fighting
plate.
the Kree. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're off the planet again. Whatever. Yeah, I
and
don't
then
know.
on top of it, it's a TV series, though. So
right.
Not only are you stuck with that universe, potentially, you're not getting Hugh Jackman to do Wolverine on TV. It's just like
no.
It's not. Maybe he'll drop in once or twice at most.
I mean, he's more or less he's planning to retire from being Wolverine anyway.
Well, and he with good reason. I mean, he's been doing it impossible to believe, but for over 16 years now, he's been our Wolverine. Like, the man's going to age at some point. It hasn't happened yet, but it's going to start at some point.
Right. I'm not sure he's capable of it, but I see where you mean.
Yeah.
The thing is, I mean, in fairness, I'm not being totally fair. The X-Men movie universe, if it still gets to pull from any X-Men related comic, there's a lot of depth in there without it just being stuff that's crossed over or sort of been co-opted by other franchises. I mean, there's lots of interesting stuff that you can do with like the Savage Land and Krakoa and in space with the Starjammers, and so there's a bunch of stuff out there. I just don't know if it feels like, other than now that we're getting into Age of Apocalypse, maybe I'm going to change my mind. Maybe Apocalypse is going to be the big thing that makes us go, okay, we can do newer, fresher takes on the X-Men and make things work a little differently while still preserving a lot of what we've already got. But it's just sort of, it's very cyclical so far, as the X-Men franchises keep kind of circling back to similar themes, because that's what people like the most about the first set of movies.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Then again, Buffy the Vampire Slayer happened, and that took a movie and turned it into a TV show and ended up really good. So maybe I should just stop pontificating on things.
It's true.
Well, you never know until you try.
Yeah, but I'd rather have an X-Men TV show than not have an X-Men TV show in theory.
I want them to try, definitely. Like see what you can come up with. I just don't know. Like, I think what made Buffy work is basically they kept the core idea and just ignored everything they wanted to,
True.
Started with new actors and everything. So
Stargate 2, I think.
Right, exactly. You take the basic idea and you just roll with it. They could maybe do that with this.
Or, I mean, you can do a spin-off where, like, when they tried to do Generation X a while back.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
I guess the question is always, are they actually capable?
My question for them is, are you going to reuse the theme music from the original X-Men cartoon? Because if you do that, I'm in.
I feel like when we end this podcast, that music needs to play now.
Yes.
This may be a good time to do that. We've covered a few different interesting things. It's been fun.
It's been up and down.
It's been a wild romp.
I can tell I'm desperately going to need coffee before I attempt to say anything else intelligent today.
All right. So
Agreed.
I apologize to our audience.
We're sorry
guys,
we were
not
so
caffeinated.
terrible.
If you ever wanted to see a Geekly Roundup podcast running on, maybe a combined 12 hours of sleep, here you are. But yeah,
and
it's
that's
a lot of fun
that.
stuff.
Wow. All right. So instructions to everybody if they want to find Ace of Geeks. I'm going to do it. Ready? Facebook.
Yeah.
Ace of Geeks. Twitter @Ace of Geeks. Instagram @Ace of Geeks. Tumblr aceofgeeks. Tumblr.com. The blog is aceofgeeks.net. Google Plus is the Ace of Geeks, and I think that's everything ever in the world. Oh, there's Twitch accounts, right? And YouTube.
We do have Twitch.
Stuff.
Ace
Twitches
of
and
Geeks
YouTubes.
podcast.
So
Come watch us play games and talk to us while we play games.
yeah, go onto the internet, type in Ace of Geeks, and then just randomly start clicking on things. And if it seems like it's really weird and terrible, we had nothing to do with that.
You reserve the right to close your browser window, and that's fine.
Awesome.
Exercise that right whenever possible.
Ben, Lauren, thank you for coming around and doing so before you've had coffee and adequate sleep. Any last words?
Still worth it.
Worth it. Black holes.
We talk science!